Any other questions
Not yet.
at this point? Well, then I just kind of open it up for general dialogue and comments with each other, or whatever is the will of the commission.
Well, Mayor, I don't know how you want to proceed on this, but I think for an opportunity to discuss with you and my esteemed colleagues, if it's appropriate, I'd like to make a motion, and if seconded, we can discuss and debate the issue, and that's one way we can all weigh in on our comments, if that would be appropriate. And the motion I'd like to make is that we continue to fluoridate our water at the level that you've stated, at the lowest possible level, 0.7, and that we support the public effort in public safety, and I don't want to speak to in a few minutes, but that's the motion I'd like to make.
I'll second that. Get it on the table for discussion.
Okay. Well, I think obviously the best way to get going on this is that if we don't want to have just general dialogue going on here, that we'll go to our normal routine, which is the maker of the motion would be Vice Mayor. You want to make some opening comments about what we're doing, or what your thoughts are, and we'll go to Commissioner Scales. And
if that's appropriate, I think that we can kind of get the ball rolling on that, because I would like to hear your response to this. From what we've heard tonight, and we all are in agreement. And by the way, I want to express my appreciation too for all of your civil discourse and your concerns and your passion, and the dialogue we've had. There are differences on this. This goes back many years. As a senior up here at 69 years old, I remember this in California in the 50s, being debated then. And for a variety of reasons, and we've heard many reasons tonight. And we've heard many reasons. We've heard a lot of empty claims. We've heard a lot of supported claims. I've been dying to tie into some of you sometimes, but you dying to tie into me, and I'm probably not going to win a lot of friends tonight. But my effort here isn't to speak on behalf of personal interest or private groups or any particular personal concern or interest group in a community. I've given a lot of thought to this, and I've weighed a lot of issues, and I've tried to formulate a principle that, while I acknowledge there's going to be differences, probably split right down the middle or one side or the other, it's based on a utilitarian principle that I want to try to maximize the greatest good for the greatest number of people. I'm elected to represent the entire community, and not any one group. And I certainly don't. I beg your pardon. Let's give me some chance. I'm not here based on arm twisting and votes and threats to not vote for me. I'm here to lay out an argument, and I can take I can take the heat from my colleagues, and we'll see what happens. But I want to let you know where I'm coming from. I've heard 4 clear objections and 4 clear statements that we all agree upon. Namely, the question, and we differ on the answer, the question of safety. Is it safe? Is it effective? The efficacious argument. Is it affordable? And is it sound public policy? Those are the crux of the issues surrounding this, and have always been so, no matter how the hyperbole or the detailed votes. And it's because of that I've given a lot of weight to this, and I've really researched in detail this. We've heard a lot about information and published responses. And I make no apologies for this. I'm a 30-year veteran of university professor. And one thing, you can criticize me a lot for being a pie-in-the-sky academic, but I do know how to research, and I do know how to assess criteria for peer-reviewed works. As the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, my job was to assess the quality control with regard to publications and peer assessment. And I've given a lot of attention to this. And contrary to what we've heard, both in the safety area and the efficacious area, there have been hundreds of peer-reviewed articles on behalf of the safety of this from numerous organizations, some 100 organizations going back some 65 years, national and international, from groups and expert panels made up of scientists worldwide with expertise in oral health, medicine, biophysics, biochemistry, toxicological, pathological studies, and epidemiology, to show you the diversity of this. We're talking about the American Cancer Institute. We're talking about the American Heart Association. We're talking about groups that lay their track record down, both for their clarity and their ethical responsibility to be clear and neutral with regard to putting their arm behind doing things in the name of public health. And so I think both in the area of safety and the area of efficaciousness and the claims that we've heard to the contrary. You may believe it, you may hear it, you may pick it up on an internet, but believe me, the research I've done on this and have got from other folks indicates that in the name of science and public health, the arguments are on the side of safety. And don't be afraid of this stuff. Don't be afraid of this stuff. It is affordable. This issue came up based on something that was in the paper about saving a few bucks. We can afford this. It's not that much. We're not talking about this. The American Academy of Pediatrics, which have analyzed this in detail now, have concluded that it's not only cost effective, but it's cost effective with a lifelong cost per person equally less than the cost of one dental restoration. And so it's the cheapest and most effective way in the long run to deliver anti-caries benefits to communities, the children as well as adults. And this has been documented, this has been researched, and believe me, this has been peer-reviewed. One more issue with regard to, is it sound public policy? A lot of people say, well, we shouldn't be in the business of doing this. Part of our job and our role as responsible public servants is to do what we can to work on behalf of the public. And not any particular group, not any particular one side, knowing full well that we're not going to, especially in controversial areas, satisfy everyone. But we have to make the best case we can. And someone brought this up before, I think it was Anna Hamilton or someone said that there's a cost and benefit analysis. And yes, I would be proud to be able to lay out my arguments to show that the benefits far outweigh the cost and the risk on the behalf of this. The Surgeon General, who's no small character, speaking behind a lot of research done, concluded that it's listed as one of the top 10 great public health documents in the United States and the best choice bargain that we ever have as a community. And speaking of choice, we talk about. I have a friend, by the way, and I want to put a last on the record, and I'll shut up, Mayor, before we move on. Don't applaud too loud.
Guys, come on.
One of the most distinguished bioethicists in the country is Arthur Kaplan, who's the director of bioethics at University of Pennsylvania. You've probably seen him on television and whatever. He is documented as being one of the most fair, one of the most neutral men in the world with regard to medical ethics and public health. He had a piece out in the Times that picked it up a few weeks ago here, if you may not have seen this, where he talks about people who are more interested in talk of freedom than acts of public science and public health. And free choice works two ways. Every time we deal with policy issues, it takes away a liberty, but in the name of a better, greater good for a community. And you got to weigh that. You got to weigh that. You got to weigh that. Come on, I can't build a house 75 feet tall because we've designed a community that says that doesn't fit into the community. Public health. Hang on now. Hang on. Public health is another issue, but it's a balance question. It's a balance issue with regard to public opportunity. And I wrote Art and Professor Kaplan, and he sent me a nice note back. And by the way, Dunedin is on the spotlight tonight, and I want to go on record as being firmly against what the county has done. It's disappointed me entirely for 700,000 people that have now have been taken away the opportunity to have, in an affordable way for their kids, disadvantaged families in particular that can't afford what you're talking about, picking up and buying extra of this stuff and going to the kids. He wrote me back and says, the evidence for safety and efficacy in this policy makes it incumbent, thank you, Ron, that we protect the interests for those who cannot look out for themselves by a simple, cheap, and caring act. And I want to express appreciation to Professor Kaplan for this. And I want to go on record as loudly supporting our continued public oral health in Dunedin, and based on the reasoning I've outlined. And by the way, there's not one complaint I heard tonight, and there's not one complaint on record we've had for this city that any child has suffered from this. It's theoretical what you're talking about. There's not been a complaint brought to our attention, and tonight there's not been a complaint there. There's only been a dispute over whether it works in the general population, and I have guarantees that it does work. If a resident of Dunedin had a child or an adult or themselves that had a problem that affected their oral health, that could be documented as a basis of what we put in their water, I'd be the first to say, oops, we may have made a mistake. But I've not heard that. It's never come to our attention. We've heard a lot of rhetoric. And by the way, I hate to be overly stated about this, but that rhetoric is not based on science, and I'm here to base my opinion on scientific reasoning. Thank you.
Commissioner Scales?